Hello again, I am Blunty, and this is the Ollo-Clip, which regular viewers will know I love and heartily recommend and used quite a lot. It's a 3-in-1 lens accessory for the iPhone, giving you a wide angle, a fisheye, and macro capabilities. And the reason I'm speaking in the past tense when I say I used it quite a lot is that, unfortunately, the one I own is for the iPhone 4 and 4S. And of course, when I got my iPhone 5, I discovered it doesn't quite fit properly anymore. It's a little bit thinner, and the lens is in a slightly different place, and it just doesn't work. It took the Ollo-Clip people a little while to get a new version made for the iPhone 5, but it's finally out there. Now, the problem is, I've been having a salty hell of a time trying to get one. Stock's a bit thin on the ground, as it were. And I'm going on a trip real soon, and I don't have time to wait for stock to come back in, or roll the dice on getting one shipped from an online source to get it to me in time. But then I found this at a local camera store. Same kind of idea, different company. But instead of having two different wide-angle options, it's just got a singular fisheye lens. On the other side sits, rather interestingly, a telephoto lens, something the Ollo-Clip doesn't do. This came in a box branded IB-FUMST 5, or more simply, 3-in-1 photo lens. Obviously, it's a cheap Chinese knockoff, so I gambled. I picked it up, obviously, and I've been out testing it. And now I'm going to show you fine folks if it's worth the $35 I paid. So let's start by giving you an idea about how these lenses affect the angle of view. Here's the iPhone 5's native lens without any attachments. Standing in precisely the same spot, popping the fisheye over it will give you this. You'll notice the heavy barrel distortion at the edges and in the corners, the vignetting of the lens itself. Typical of fisheye lenses, of course. This is one of the things I liked about having two wide-angle options with the Ollo-Clip. The fisheye, which looked very much like this with the barreling and the vignetting, but also had a less dramatic wide-angle option that, while still significantly wider than the standard view, avoided this extreme distortion and vignetting. And I found both options to be very useful. But here, the only option is the full-on fisheye, which, to me and my tastes, is a little less useful. Now, any lens you attach over another lens will lead to some aberrations and other issues that reduce the overall image quality. It's just the science of it, bitches. So here, you do get that, of course, but it's not too bad. Sharpness and contrast are reasonably well maintained, at least through the center. Things do get progressively worse at the edges. And on some subjects you will still get some colour fringing throughout, but I've seen worse. Flaring from the sun or bright light sources isn't too bad, which was a surprise really. So, you do make a compromise on your image quality to a relatively small extent, but what you get in return are some very useful creative options. Both the fisheye and the telephoto offer up much more dramatic viewpoints than the stock focal length. And as a nice bonus, as with all cameras, an increase in focal length will decrease the depth of field in your focus plane, especially on closer subjects. So, when using the telephoto to photograph or video subjects close up, you can throw the background out of focus a bit more than you're usually able to on the iPhone. It's not super dramatic, nobody's going to mistake it for a DSLR or anything, but it does give you more tools in your utility belt of creativity, and that's always a neat thing to have. Unfortunately, the macro lens, revealed just as it is with the Ollo-Clip by unscrewing the wide-angle lens, is a bit of a disappointment. It focuses way too close. To get anything in focus at all, you have to be right up against it, which means the shadow of the phone itself will very often intrude onto your subject. And this also makes the depth of field so narrow it's near impossible to use for any practical purpose in the wild. The macro on the Ollo-Clip is vastly superior in every respect. It's more useful, it's clearer, it's sharper, it's just better all over. And just to show you, here's a macro shot from the Ollo-Clip. In video mode, the fisheye becomes more useful, as the normal slight sensor crop the iPhone uses in video mode and the widescreen aspect ratio both combine to cut off the worst of the barrel distortion and minimize vignetting. Although, as you can see, the lens itself isn't very precisely aligned, meaning one edge intrudes more into the frame than the other, and I suspect the severity of this particular issue will vary from unit to unit thanks to the less than brilliant quality of the injection molded frame holding the lenses in place. And once more, the Ollo-Clip, manufactured to much higher standards and tolerances out of better materials, just didn't have this issue. In all other respects, this 3-in-1 lens thingy is much more practical in video mode than it is in photo mode. You're not trying to suck in 8 megapixels of image as you are in stills. Here, it's only 1080p, or about a megapixel or so. So the image quality penalty you pay for mounting one lens directly onto another lens is much less pronounced. In fact, I'd go as far as to say the telephoto lens in particular looks pretty damn nice in video mode. So, in the end, I think I'll still go ahead and buy an iPhone 5 model of the Ollo-Clip as soon as I can get one, as this unit just isn't a satisfactory replacement for it. The Ollo-Clip is better in macro, it has more useful wide-angle options, and is constructed better, but I reckon even once I do finally get my hands on an iPhone 5 Ollo-Clip, I'll still be keeping this little fella in my bag, even if it's just for the telephoto lens. Because let's face it, that is handy. If you hunt around online, you can get one of these 3-in-1 lenses for somewhere close to $20 plus shipping. Ted's Camera Store, who price this at $79 normally, are just obnoxiously laughable, and anyone who pays that is a fool with more cash than brain cells, and they should give me all their money so I can spend it properly. I did get mine from Ted's, by the way. Luckily for me, I got it from them on a Boxing Day sale, so I paid $35, which when you consider you normally pay a little bit more in brick and mortar stores as opposed to online anyway, is a pretty reasonable price for what it gives you, I think. Especially if you're like me and don't want to risk an unpredictable shipping time from a cheaper Chinese sources because you got to go on a trip and you want the thing for the trip. So, worth owning if you can get it cheap, otherwise spend the money on the Ollo-Clip, like I'm going to be, as soon as I can get one. Thanks for watching, I am Blunty, and I'll catch you next time.